Alright, this video should show you how I made my portable Wii laptop thing. First things first, let's start out with supplies. I used a soft-modded Wii with Bootmii and the homebrew channel. A portable DVD player from 2006, I just used the screen from it. A 12-volt battery, I recommend you use LiPo or lithium-ion as they are lightweight and have a large capacity. A soldering iron with a fine, clean tip, and of course solder. Some thin gauge wire, as this will make the entire process of reassembling the Wii easier. A small Phillips head screwdriver and a small tri-wing screwdriver. You can look up tri-wing screwdriver Nintendo on Amazon and you can buy a 5-pack for cheap. You're going to need some thermal paste or thermal pads, some epoxy or super glue, maybe a saw, some pliers or wire cutters, and last but not least, you're going to need at least 4 working brain cells. Alrighty then, time to get started. Before I forgot to mention that your portable DVD player will need to have an AV input in order to work properly. Otherwise, you will not be able to display the video output from your Wii on its screen. First, I dissected my portable DVD player. If you have a portable DVD player with an integrated battery, be careful not to short circuit it. It can and will explode and or combust. Here, I had some trouble removing the main PCB. Always check between capacitors and resistors or other small parts for small screws. Okay, now that I have it taken apart, I had to detach all the unnecessary circuits, such as the actual DVD reader / laser, the buttons to control DVD playback, etc., etc. Once you have it fully taken apart, it is a good idea to test it with your Wii. If it no longer works with your Wii, you should probably try reattaching all removed circuits. Just a quick side note, my DVD player said that it ran on 9V, but it worked just as well on 12V. I think there was a little bit of a mislabel going on or something of that sort. So I plugged the DVD player into the Wii. It all worked except for the speakers. I found out that I had short-circuited the speakers, and that they had melted through the casing. Alright, first I took out all of the outer screws. The motto that you should go by is, see a screw, remove a screw. Make sure that you keep track of which screw goes where. Watch out, the front shroud has a small connector that is attached to the motherboard. Just wiggle the Wii apart. Make sure that you do not tear any cables or break any part. It's now time to remove the DVD drive that we will not be using as it draws too much power, is heavy, and we need the space that it takes up for our screen's driver board. Do not discard the DVD drive, as we will need its printed circuit board later. Time to remove the PCB from the disk drive. Cut all the wires that I cut in this video. Now, remove every single screw so that you are able to have the motherboard by itself. This is so that we can solder the video and power connections onto it. screen I have the pinouts labeled for your convenience. And yes, you need to use the ground on the video connection. If your AV cable doesn't seem to have a ground cable within the insulation, use the metal shielding of the cable, as that is typically used to ground. Alright, it's soldering time. Make sure you tin your iron, your wires, and that your iron is hot enough. I used 400 degrees Celsius for this application. Not sure if that's a good temperature, but that's what I used and it worked out pretty good. Now you need to apply the thermal paste. Apply a generous amount as there is some space between the heatsink and the chips. Now, reattach the PCB from the disk drive. Once you've attached the PCB from the disk drive, it's time to test if your Wii still works. Plug it into your TV and into your wall socket and see if it powers on. Now it's time to prepare the other ends of the wires we soldered earlier to be soldered to the other connectors, such as the AV connector and the DC jack to lead into the PCB. Here you'll see me applying the heat shrink wrap. You'll also see me burning some Scotch tape. Here you'll see how I soldered the wires to the video jack. First, for positive, or the actual signal wire, I just soldered a big lump of solder to it, and while the solder was still malleable, I shoved it through the center of the jack, which is where positive belongs. Then I wrapped a long string of the negative wire around it and soldered it in place. Now, see if your hard work and dedication paid off by testing it. Alright, all you need to do now is put it back together. Sadly, the footage of this got corrupted, so you're just going to have to reverse engineer it. Once reconstructed, you may add some finishing touches, such as this. If you are curious how I attached the screen to the Wii, I simply cut the DVD player in half, or as tall as the Wii is, and just glued it on with epoxy, leaving a hole in the top of the Wii for the wires to run through. If you're curious how I powered this with a battery, I simply took the wall plug from the Wii and took the connector off and connected it to my alligator clips, which then I in turn plugged into my battery.